Hey, 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 welcome. Welcome to the Really Charlie podcast here on Fireside. And as this segment is called Did You Know Stuff? And eventually that's going to change because I'm bringing myself to Fireside on a routine basis. And so this show will be called the Really Charlie podcast. My name is Charlie Perry. I'm a host of the Really Charlie podcast on Anchor, Spotify, LinkedIn, YouTube, and now the latest, greatest, Fireside. So I love Fireside. It's just every day I'm listening to something more so on Fireside than the radio, and I just love it. I can't wait. Things are getting bigger and better around here, so I'm gonna stick around on Fireside. I want to say hello to my friend Anthony Tony Cordova from I'm Right, and double PFR. I love it. I love it. I like how he says it though. Double PFR. He's got everything, man. The greatest host on Fireside. All right, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so I was just kind of scanning through some information on the internet, and I came across, excuse me, caught up on some wires. I came across this article by ProPublica, written by Seth Freed Welsler. And this is dated back on December 16th. The article is about something that was buried, hidden, found, but not forgotten. At least now it is. um, Title of the article is Developers Found Graves in the Virginia Woods. Authorities then helped erase the historic Black Cemetery. Black Cemetery. They're always trying to bury us, but we always seem to surface, always seem to rise. We're a tough bunch of people, and so, anyways, we're going to continue with this. The article reads Nobody working to bring 346 million Microsoft project to rural Virginia, expected to find graves in the woods, but in a cluster of yucca plants and cedar, they found. Maybe it's not a good day to do this podcast. Clear up this throat. They found some graves. Some surveyors and contractors, they noticed it was a cemetery. And the largest of the stones bore the name Stephen Mosley, died December 3rd, 1930. Well, Stephen Mosley had some family still in the area. In the layer of cracking plaster, another stone in perfect condition, engraved with a branch on top of it, belonged to Stephen's toddler son, Fred, who died in 1906. So the article continues that now mind you, they had some money that they were trying to make things better in the area, and they came across this. So one of the quotes was, "This is not as bad as it sounds," an engineering consultant wrote in March 2014 to Microsoft and to an official in Mecklenburg County, Virginia. And I've been there, who is helping clear hurdles for the project. an expansion of massive data center. We should be able to relocate these graves. So they came across some data and they were going to actually, be able to come across some of the family names, or some of the things that are hidden, like the gravestones. And so the interesting thing about this is in my hometown, here in New Bedford, Massachusetts, we have an old cemetery. And it's called the Griffin Street Cemetery. And we have some people that are buried there, dates back to 1805. Um, but crazy thing is, there's Revolutionary War veterans that are there. So they're buried there, right in the cemetery where kids like me play baseball, football. Some of the grown ups hit some golf balls. Um, but little did we know that where first base, second base, third base, and home was the area of some gravestones or graves. So what I'm trying to do is basically going to try to restore that, similar to what the people here in Virginia are trying to do. After the discovery in Virginia, the county and its consultants turned to archaeologists, which federal law required they retain. But that didn't go as they hoped, rather. In a detailed report, the archaeologists determined that the cemetery is eligible for inclusion in historic registry. The report stressed the cemetery's significance. Oh man, significance to African American life and death in Southside Virginia, citing the fact that Stephen Mosley and his relatives were black. It is recommended that the area be avoided. All right. Power to the people. And you may be too young to know that, Tony. I still love that phrase, power to the people. I really do. To the county and its consultants who who cost Microsoft covered, this was unacceptable. We will challenge his recommendations, wrote Alex Jones, and a consultant from the firm Enviro Utilities. The firm and the county pressed the archaeologists to reserve their conclusion that the cemetery belongs on the National Register. And they asked the team to cast doubt on the central findings that made the cemetery historically significant. That's amazing. That all people buried there, members of the community of landowners who famed tobacco in the wake of the Civil War and Reconstruction, were black. Interesting thing is that someone's just trying to erase this cemetery, these people, um, and the Mosley family, they're still around. In fact, they were actually interviewed in this article. Um, so they were eligible for the historic registry, and which led to so many other things where they're trying to renovate, not dig up the graves, but kind of get some markers going so they can restore as much as they can. Now, the interesting thing about this article is that this may actually help me in my own hometown, and I think it caused um, a little interest once I posted it on Facebook, a lot of people came out of the woodwork and they want to know what's going on. How can they help? And I'm pretty sure this is what's going on here in Virginia. Um, let's see. It says someone suggested that the original firm conduct additional historical research. More work needs to be done on the Mosley family members to identify who's in the graves. He wrote in an email to the Jones boss, who forwarded it to the county. The county and the consultants ignored the advice. So I want to kind of move forward a little bit. This is what the county had to do because of Virginia law requires it was to run a legal notice tucked among the ads classifieds in several weekly printed editions of the Mecklenburg Sun. Even that, Jones had warned in an email to Microsoft and the county would risk the chance of local family members coming forward. Which makes sense. You do that in probate issues. You do that in estate issues. You put an ad in the newspaper, and that's usually the last straw. Usually, you try to dig up as much information you can and contact people through mail, letters, phone numbers, addresses, so on and so forth. And the newspaper article is usually sometimes the last resort towards helping you or not helping you. So the Mosleys have been here a long time. Mike Mosley said his family roots are in this part of Virginia. When asked if he's seen the notice in the papers of his own newspaper, he responded, "Do you read the classified ads?" And he says, "I do not." So makes sense. The classified ads, you only go there if you need something, want something, or need a job. Carpenter, plumber, truck driver, mover, junk remover, stuff like that. So, Mr. Mosley would have not been hard to locate had the county actually tried to find Stephen Mosley's descendants. The tall, lanky 60-year-old went to high school at Mecklenburg County, played basketball on the school team. After high school, he moved away for a time. He wasn't interested in following his father's into the funeral home business, but he returned to Mecklenburg more than 2 decades ago. Since then, he's worked a series of jobs at local papers, including at the Sun, where he's still a reporter. Amazing. They put an ad in the newspaper, and this gentleman works there. I mean, Tony, you would know from your wife, Jill, writing an article. I mean, she's probably talking about people or talking to people in the office that she gets along with, and just the name Mosley. Maybe they say, "We got any Mosleys here?" on the newspaper. He said, "Yeah, we got this old man down in the corner over there. He writes a few articles here and there, and voila, they would have solved the mystery right there." So, anyways, anyone who works for the county knows me. They know who we are. It's hard to understand how they didn't come to talk to us. Wow, crazy. Mecklenburg County did not reply to detailed questions about handling of the cemetery and the contents of the emails, which were obtained through state open record request. But in the phone interview, County Administrator Wayne Carter said that the newspaper notice was sufficient to comply with the law. And he's right. He added, he asked some people who hunted on the land if they noticed anyone visiting the cemetery. They're not going to visit the cemetery. It's covered by woods, yucca trees. If you understand that, they're a mess. So, anyways, it's probably these kids probably looked at it and said, "Hey, go in the woods," or go, because it was covered, completely covered. Um, let's see. Let me go on a little further. They said that they didn't see anyone down there. The consultant declined to answer questions referring to Microsoft and viral utilities, did not respond to the email, questions, and multiple calls and text messages in response to the questions. A Microsoft spokesman said the county followed all applicable federal, state, and local laws. Of course, just by putting an ad in the newspaper, in the classified ads. That's about what we call what the pictures we use, like on Fireside, thumbnails, right? It was probably the size of this. All right. And the guy's an old man. So he's probably wearing thicker glasses than I have, or no glasses at all. He probably could never find that article. So, like his nephew, David Mosley heard nothing from the county about the threat to the cemetery. The soft spoken, retired school teacher administrator, who is now 85, grew up on the land adjacent to where Microsoft was building its data center and currently lives, excuse me, outside of Lynchburg, Virginia. Yes, he said, when asked in August about his relative's resting place, there's a cemetery there. He did not at first believe the remains of his grandfather, Stephen Mosley, were somewhere else. Somebody would have called me if they moved the cemetery. Oh boy. Wow. They got handles they found. They have handles from the casket, some inscriptions. Wow. Let's see. By the way, thank you, Michael. I see you. I did see you a few minutes ago, but I want to say hello. Welcome aboard. Anthony, once again, thank you for being here. And as I learned to do, everybody on replay, thank you for joining us. Um, so we are talking about a buried cemetery. So people got buried twice, you know, first time at the funeral, and then years later with trees and brush and everything. And authorities knew about all this. That's the greatest crime right there. David Mosley's grandparents, Stephen and Lucy Mosley, and great grandparents, James and Ellen Walker, in 1889 purchased 169 acres in a fertile region near the North Carolina border. His father, Douglas Mosley, inherited the Mosley homestead as a teenager. David woke in the early mornings to work with an uncle harvesting their tobacco crop. As far as back David knew, his ancestors had been buried on that land. In one of his earliest memories from when he was about 4 years old. He joined his parents in the graveyard to bury his stillborn sibling. I remember being out there and the open grave, he said. Man, so that's amazing in itself. They're got a tobacco farm with 169 acres back then, and they're black folks. Amazing, amazing. So Just that alone would have been noticeable. That would have been noticeable back then. Do you agree? That would have been noticeable that they own all that land and they're making tobacco. So, anyways, they're working on it and they're trying to restore this cemetery. A little of did you know stuff. Um, and that was brought to the facts are provided by ProPublica um, .org. So I'm speaking some truth, and I definitely will follow that up because I'm doing this in my own hometown. So I want to make sure that this experience teaches me because I'm on ground zero right now. I'm at the very very beginning, and from what I understand, I got I received some emails from the city. Um, got in contacted by some community people, and they're very happy that someone's trying to do something. The problem we have is, there's a whole lot of things going on in the city, and with the historic district, and my town is an old whaling town, and now a fishing industry, along with textiles, and there was factories all along the waterfront. So, anyways, all that land is either getting knocked down and renovated to do different things. One is the uh, the wind farms out at sea. Those are being in place now, and there's so many things. The railroad is finally coming back to New Bedford, where you can travel from our city to the northeast of Massachusetts, up in the Boston area, where I can visit, you know, my beloved Celtics that are doing real lousy tonight again. So, on that note, I don't think Missoula is going to stay. I think Celtics will be changing eventually because professionals are doing whatever they want to do. And that's a lack of control. So, I think eventually things will be changing. Um, so, anyways, I bring this subject up because what I'm doing in my town, in my city, but I'm also going to follow it up and reach out to some people and see if they can teach me a few tricks. So I will apply that to my city and the cemetery that I have some fondness for, and that's the Griffin Street Cemetery. If anybody wants to come to the stage during this last few minutes, please welcome on board Tony. Here we go. Hey,
Hey,
man,
there's my buddy. How are you?
what's going on? I'm sorry to keep you up so late, but I just,
Well, it's a Friday night, so I could
that's
stay
right.
up late tonight.
That's
So,
right.
but I am really curious. First, I want to ask questions about the cemetery in your area. Now,
Hmm.
did you say you grew up there and was playing, baseball and all that in that
Yes.
field?
Yes, we were.
Um, so you always remember it just as a field, correct?
Um, well, they were gravestones. If you if you rounded first base and you went too far, you were going to trip over a gravestone.
Okay.
And they were like scattered around that area, and it was a
Okay.
kind of perfectly squared cemetery. And
o-
so
Okay. But there's no other markers, marker posts, post markers anywhere, or.
they're not where we were running around. However,
Mhm.
I found a picture that was dated back probably 1940, maybe. Um, the stones are white, so it might. And then later there was some slated stones with a gray type look. Um,
Uh huh.
but those were pretty much probably. where our home plate was, those stones were probably, I would say, about 40 yards away. You could see them, and
Uh-huh.
at my earliest age of probably 9, some people used to put flowers up there, but I think that was more of a city. That was the city doing that, more so than relatives.
Okay. So are you still trying to identify the people that were buried there, or do you have any names of the
Someone,
deceased?
yeah, there are some names on file, um, and I'm waiting for someone to contact me, and it's estimated about 200 something names.
Really?
Yeah, so there's um, from what I there was pretty close to this cemetery. There was actual a burial ground, and what happened is they took the remains from that burial ground and they bring them to another cemetery, not too far from this one. And that was many
Hmm.
years ago, and that's why there's this unofficial name of the Indian cemetery, because it was always said burial
Okay.
grounds. So people assumed that it was Indians,
Native
Native
American.
Americans,
Okay.
and so, but
Now
they were,
that's making more sense to me
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Here, I grew up in New York, but I found out here in Georgia, actually throughout the South, um, there are many cemeteries that have African Americans buried in them, and the same kind of thing like you were talking about in
mm-hmm,
Virginia. So some of these cemeteries, like even close to me, a few miles away from me, there's a old cemetery, but the cemetery is segregated.
mm,
So there's the white portion of the cemetery and there's the black portion of the cemetery. It's
yes,
all one, and but all of this still goes back to slavery
mm-hmm,
times here in Georgia. So they would the plantation owner would set aside a place where black people could be buried. Okay. So
oh,
even after slavery was done, there was still a connection between the African Americans and the plantation
mm,
owners. And they quite often gave the black families, the African American families that previous worked there as slaves, or they where they were enslaved, or after 1865 they became sharecroppers,
mm-hmm,
right?
yep,
But what the plantation owner would do to keep the African Americans, the former slaves there, is say, well, I'll tell you what, if you keep working here, we'll give you a house to live in, which was really just a little shack.
mm-hmm,
You take care of it yourself, and we'll give you an area of the cemetery where your loved ones can be buried. You
oh,
can be buried, your loved ones can be buried, and anyone in your family can be buried. And for generation after generation after generation. So what happens is that over the years, um, you've got less and less people of that family or connected to that family being buried there.
true,
So you also have no one taking care of the cemetery.
yeah,
So the cemetery falls in disrepair. Then you got kids that come out and they're knocking over stones and all of that, and before long, people don't even know that was part of the cemetery.
Hmm.
And then when they sell off the property, because just about all property gets sold off, um, it's not there. So if they find
Hmm.
somebody's there, they just move them.
Yeah.
They don't try to contact anyone or anything else, just like you were saying with the classified ads. Who looks at the classified ads? No
Yeah.
one. No one.
No one.
Yeah,
No.
and
No.
you can find anybody nowadays. If you have a name, you can find that person or a relative of that person, and it doesn't take but 15 minutes.
No. Yeah. True.
So if the cemetery in your area is Native Americans, well, Native Americans are treated like African Americans, and
Hmm.
in some cases worse. Even
And
today.
in that cemetery, it's more like a myth that Native Americans were buried there, and it took on this name of, like I said, the Indian. I'm trying not to say that word anymore, but the Indian cemetery. But what I found is that there was many, many working people, carpenters, iron workers, a blacksmith rather, um, because that was a working area of the city.
Hmm.
And so a lot of the men and women that were working that area, from the docks to the shops and everything, they were buried there. But
They
one
were
of
buried there
them, yeah,
also.
but the most important thing for this country is that there are Revolutionary War veterans there, and they're buried there. And so now that it's so crazy, and you think of it, so if the Revolutionary War was the start of this country, is that the way we keep up or maintain something that ignited the United States of America? I mean, it all started here in the Northeast, so pretty much, Um,
Well,
well,
well, to
well,
answer your question,
yeah.
yes, that is exactly
Hmm.
how they treat it.
Hmm.
Um, and uh, well, I was going to say, and they still do to this day, but we are talking about this day. These are the things that happen now.
Yes,
Um, and again, it's not just in New England; it's throughout
everywhere.
this
Yeah.
country. Um, we're talking about Native Americans. We have some Native American mounds
Mm.
that are close to us, close to where I
Yes.
live. And they are supposed to be sacred,
Mm.
okay? And they've been there forever. All right. I've been here for what, 40 years now. I moved here in
Hmm.
1981, and they've always been there. The mounds have always been there. And now you have people trying to say that they're not Native American mounds.
Mm.
And now they want to knock them down.
Wow.
And you know why? It's all
Yeah.
connected to money. They
Money.
want the property, and so they're trying to convince everybody that it's false, that they're
True.
that they're not, and they've been there forever.
Wow.
They've been there forever. Um, so that's the things that happen in this country. Um, I was telling you about the cemeteries, that a lot of cemeteries in the South here are divided cemeteries. So there's the white portion and the
Hmm.
black portion.
Yes.
Um, But I'm getting ready to tell you something, and I know you're not going to believe me because I've told this story many times. But I know this is the truth because I've spoken to several people about this that are in it today.
Mm-hmm.
So, my first wife uh, came from middle to southern Georgia. I'm not going to name the town,
Yep.
but so we used to go there, for Thanksgiving and all of that. And I used to go down there and hunt and fish and do all of this. And one of the people I knew uh, lived on a farm and he worked on a farm, but he didn't own the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a nice pickup that he drove and a little house he lived in. And we were talking, and he's showing me, different places you can hunt, and showing me the property. And I said, "You work here?" He says, "Yeah, yeah, I work here." I said, "How long you been working here?" And at the time, he was probably in his 40s, maybe 48 years old. He says, "Yeah, yeah, I work there." I said, "Well, man, you must be doing pretty good because this is a really nice pickup truck."
Mm-hmm.
He says, "This isn't my pickup truck." I said, "It's not?" No, no, it's not my pickup truck. He says, "I've never bought a vehicle in my whole life."
Wow.
I s- Really? He says, "Yeah." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Because I work on this farm." I said, "Yeah. Well, for my whole life and for my father's life and my grandfather's life, we've all worked right on this farm." And I said, "Well, okay, well, that's okay." So this his relatives that worked on the farm worked there since slavery.
Yeah.
Okay. They didn't even become sharecroppers after slavery. They just kept working there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the plantation owner says, "Well, I'll tell you what." And this is what he's told this guy's, previous family members since slavery. So back then it might have been, I'll, I'll give you a horse and a wagon you can use. You don't have to pay for it. I'll give you a house you can live in. And like I said, it's like a, two-room shack.
Mm-hmm.
Give you a house you can live in. You don't have to pay anything. Just you make your own repairs. And they've been doing that ever since to
Wow.
this day. So, so I said, "Well, it's not." I said, "It's not my business." I said, "But I'm just so curious. How much?" And this was maybe 15 years ago when I talked to him. I said, "How much do you get paid here?" He told me they pay me $75 a week.
Wow.
I said, "And you work the farm and you do all that?" I said, he says, "Yeah, yeah, I do whatever they tell me to do. And I come out here, whatever it is, running tractors." He works the farm. Okay.
Wow.
And he says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, that's not so good, is it?" He said, "The way I look at it, it's perfect."
Wow.
And I said, "Well, I don't understand. Why is it perfect?" He said, "Everybody else has got car notes to pay. They got house notes to pay. They got food they have to buy at the grocery. It's like most of my food comes right off this farm.
Hmm.
I don't have to pay for any food. I don't have to pay for a car. I don't have to pay for housing. All I got to do is work the farm and I'm good."
Wow.
And I said, "Okay." And they still have that arrangement. Um, I was talking to another woman there, and it's a place where they pick pecans.
Mm-hmm.
And she came in the house and she said, "Oh, I'm tired." I said, why? She says, oh, I've been picking pecans all day. I said, really? She says, yeah, I've been out there for 10 hours today. I said, wow, you probably made a whole bunch of money. She said, yeah, I did pretty good. I filled two hamper fills.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a basket, big basket. She said, I did too. I said, well, how much did you make? She said, I made $5.
Oh boy.
I said, wait a minute, $5? You was out there all day and you only made $5? She says, I said, don't you think that's a little cheap? She says, no. She said, they pay us $2.50 a hamper. I said, that doesn't sound like much. She
Mm-hmm.
said, it's good to me because they only used to pay us 75 cents.
Oh my God. Wow.
And they're still doing that. I know people that live in the same house that their ancestors lived in as slaves,
Wow.
and they don't own the house.
Mm-mm-mm.
And
Amazing.
and a lot of these people have cemeteries on these properties and they just go bad,
Crazy.
disappear. And when nobody else is left around, they just roll over them, move them. Sometimes they don't even move the cemeteries.
Mm.
They just run over it,
Yeah.
with heavy equipment. They don't care, just like it was a dog buried there or something.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Wow.
saying all of that, I really hope that you get to the bottom of the cemetery by you.
Thank you.
But it just shows how over the years, you know, history just disappears. It just
Sure does.
disappears. If nobody's on top of it, it just disappears.
They're
And in most cases, that is exactly what they want.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Didn't happen. It's gone. Didn't happen.
Nope. Don't have to restore anything. Don't have to
Don't have to do
upkeep
nothing.
anything. Nothing.
That's
We
right.
we had
That's right. And and like you're saying, who looks at the classified ads? They did that when the only place you could get your information from was the newspaper.
mhm. And you kept old newspapers. There was no such thing as tossing them away. They were filed away, and people read them until they
Yeah.
got to them. So and amazing, amazing. I working. I work for this local funeral home, well, national funeral
Hmm.
corporation, and one of the craziest things I seen was a wagoneer. The gentleman that was buried there, he was a wagoneer,
Hmm.
and he was a veteran. So I was saying, wow. I says, and the only time I seen something similar to that was usually some kind of old movie, whether it's
Right.
and so it was so weird to see it right in front of me. It was an actual person, and
Right.
so I actually every now and then, if I'm in that cemetery again, I tend to go over there to that same grave and just look at it, and kind of
Hmm.
talk to myself, have a little conversation, only because that history is. I mean, it was for real to see that, and but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna end up taking a video of the cemetery here, so you'll see it eventually on social media. And I'm
Hmm.
just gonna go around with my phone or camera and basically take some shots of different pictures and some of the history, and but somebody's working on that list of the 200 graves, and at least if I can start with grave markers,
Right.
and having maybe someone, engineer or somebody, surveyor, kind of put them in its place, that's a start.
Hmm.
You know, because all they're doing is just cutting the grass and not trimming anything. They're just cutting the grass. And that's it.
Right. Hey, at least they're cutting the grass.
Yes. Whoops. Oh, look at that. The wind is coming in the house. It's like Dorothy
It's
knocking
windy
down
there
things.
too.
Oh, yes, it is. Man. And I'm on the top floor. So,
Uh huh.
yeah. So the skylight is right above us. So,
Oh
yeah, some
man.
given days, man, that wind will kind of shake and rattle everything. So, but Tony, man, you are always a great conversation. You are always the, you know, you're always someone I like listening to, and I appreciate it. Um, the intellect is amazing, only because it's things I don't know, and I try to get as much information I can from everybody. And when it comes to story, especially parts and pieces of Black history, it really appeals to me. It really, really does.
I
Because
have a good friend of mine that's a historian, and he used to teach history at one time. But there is nothing you could ask him about African Americans in this country and the history that he does not know.
very
I mean,
nice.
he knows everything.
Right.
Everything. And he'll go on, he'll take trips throughout the this country, to do research on different areas and all of that.
That's
A lot
very
of
nice.
times they'll say, "Hey, did you hear about?" I said, "What do you know about the massacre in Wilmington, North Carolina?"
Hmm.
Because I had just found out about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know about that. Then he'll go into real intricate details on what happened anywhere in the country.
Wilmington Lies. That's the best book on that subject.
Is that
Wi-
right?
Wilmington Lies, and it's in Audible too. So
Oh yeah.
with you driving
Actually,
and everything, man, you can listen
yeah.
to
Let
that
me
all day.
write that down. Let me write that down. Get me a piece of paper or something. Yeah, because so I don't forget. I'll put it on my list.
Hmm.
But yeah, I had gotten a lot of information on that because I was going to Wilmington every week.
Wow.
Every week I was there, and uh, when I found out about it, I asked one of the local guys that I saw all the time, and he said, "Oh yeah," he said, "There's a lot of things about Wilmington. This was a very successful place for black people.
Hmm.
We owned this town. We held political office. We owned the banks. We all of that, and they didn't like it.
Hmm.
And Wilmington and Savannah, Georgia, and because they're right on the water.
Yes.
So what would happen is they have, and they say they still exist. I'm pretty sure they're probably not used, but they can take a black person back in the day and arrest him, and he'd be in jail, and then he no longer was in jail,
Hmm.
gone,
Yeah.
never to be seen again. And they had tunnels in the jail that led right to the ocean.
Wow.
So right into the port. So they would take a prisoner that they wanted to lynch, They'd kill them in the jail and then take them out of these tunnels and dump them in the ocean.
Mm-mm.
So they had that in Wilmington, and they have it in Savannah also. And I wouldn't doubt that there's other towns that sit on the water that are
That's it.
like that, had tunnels that it ran right to the water.
Monkey see, monkey do. You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
crazy. But I could talk about that stuff all day.
All day.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you know, I'm giving myself about 25 more years on this earth. Um,
Oh,
hopefully.
you decided, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully. I tell
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
I
you
want
decided.
I want to see my youngest grandson graduate from high school, and then
Okay.
if the if if the if the Lord wants to take me, He can take me. But I gotta see him graduate.
All right.
So,
Cool.
well, Tony, Michael, I really appreciate you guys hanging with me. Um, there's one thing I know about you two and many others on Fireside. You continue to support me, what I'm doing here, and things are going to get better for Charlie Perry on Fireside. I have some new plans, some new things going on, some great guests coming on, including next month. There's going to be a dear friend of mine, retired police officer, and we're going to actually celebrate his last day on the
Oh,
job.
okay.
Yeah, so we're
Cool.
going to kind of just have fun with that. And I get to talk to him without any filter. He don't have to worry about no supervisor getting on his back. So now
Getting
we
on
can
them. All
actually
right.
we can talk shop, you know. So I can't wait, cannot wait. Um, and
Yeah, that should be pretty cool.
yeah, yep. And then let's see, in a couple of weeks I have a cousin of mine, younger cousin, who was in 82nd Airborne. He's going to be coming on. And
Yeah, yeah. I saw you schedule that one.
yeah, great story. Him and his brother, they're twins, and they went through boot camp. They decided they wouldn't join the army together. And the weirdest thing is that one of them had a blood pressure issue or something. So they postponed him until he had to come back. He comes back maybe a week later. Now they were on the verge of going different parts of the country because of
Uh-huh.
that little, health issue. They both went to the same basic training,
Wow. Cool.
and so they're twins. And so now they're getting off the bus. I can't wait until he tells those stories. And so end result is they end up going to Fort Benning in Georgia down
Mm-hmm.
there. So after they go through all the graduation and everything, so they get their orders of where they're going to report. Both of them went to, was it North Carolina, where the 82nd Airborne is. It was
Uh-huh.
crazy that they did it together all the way
Cool.
through, all the way through. So only one of them went to war, which I'm happy. It was only one. I didn't want any of them to, but
Okay.
one of them went. So
Yeah, that 82nd Airborne is in Fayetteville, isn't it?
mhm.
Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Yeah, I think that's where it is. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I've been
crazy.
there.
Yeah, a
I've
lot of a
been there
lot
a
of my
couple of
friends
times.
a lot of my friends served there, and they were very happy, very proud. So, but on
Cool.
that note, Tony, I can't wait to see you on your podcast, your show, Jill's show. I'm trying to catch everything that I can with you guys because you're teaching me. You teach me a lot of things, and I
Well, we
need it.
appreciate you showing up. But
No,
man, if you ever want and you need some help, just let me know and we could just show up in the
o-
green room.
okay.
So,
Uh,
if it's a matter of getting equipment set up right or your
hmm
lighting or, still stuff like, the little stuff that goes wrong.
That's it.
Um, or testing stuff out before you get another guest on or something, so it goes smoothly.
I
Um,
I will be doing that because this is my go-to now. So I definitely got to be on point when it comes to fireside. So I will be touching base with you,
yeah, but
and
hey, but everybody loves you over here.
that's good, man. I love you guys too. Like
Yeah,
my,
well, and I'm just not talking about us. I'm talking about on Fireside.
that's good.
People like you.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
and I see, because I listen to more replays than anything.
Hmm.
Uh, Very rare that I'm in live shows, but so I see all the places you showing up at.
I love it. I love it. I miss
Yeah,
my
I see
man
all.
Stefan today, but I'll catch up to him.
Yeah,
Wait.
we saw him. He wasn't supposed to do another show this year. He said he was taking off till January, and then decided he couldn't do without Fireside.
Yeah,
did a
yeah.
did a show today.
It is addictive, and I don't mind it. I prefer that addiction over a lot of them. So
Yeah, yeah. But I'm gonna try to make my show tomorrow quick
all
because
right.
it's Christmas Eve. Not that I have any place to go. I don't think that many people are gonna show up.
Well,
Because it's Christmas Eve.
I'll
So.
definitely be on. I'll be at someone else's house, but I'll be on.
Oh, I appreciate it. I
All right.
appreciate it. But yeah, I'm gonna try to keep it quick. That way your wife won't get on your case.
No, she's kicking me out of the house that night. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. So yeah.
All right.
All right. I
All
love you,
right, man.
brother.
Well,
You're the
look,
best.
yeah, you too. Love
All
you.
right.
You take care. I'm gonna hop off your stage.
All right. Michael, my man, down on the bottom row. I appreciate you. Always support me, and we will talk. Um, and actually, you and Tony need to connect. So you can be a guest on his show. That needs to happen. I know y'all talked about it. Yes. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Really Charlie podcast. And we talked about some buried cemeteries, buried twice. And it's nice to let's maintain and give our respect for the people that passed. We don't know the history, but I'm guaranteeing you that they did some good things or someone loved them. You know, me, I love a cemetery because when I'm buried, I want people to visit me too. So hey, Billy D's, we're about to end this podcast, but I appreciate you coming on. All right. Please follow me and continue to follow the Really Charlie podcast here. All right, everyone. We're going to put let's see. Here we go, Tony.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yep.
had to stop. And now Billy D is gone. I
Oh,
wanted to say hi to him.
I still
Um,
see him.
you still see him? Well, something's
Yep.
wrong with my phone. There he is. I see him now.
All right.
Billy D is new to Fireside, but I listened to the replay of Billy's first show over here, Fireside.
Mm-hmm.
So he's an old pro.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's an old pro, and I liked everything I heard from him. So Billy D, keep doing what you're doing. You're gonna be able to help a lot of people over here at Fireside. And I like the way you ask questions. So let me see. It was Stefan was in his show,
oh, nice.
and Mistress, what's it?
Hmm.
Mali- Lisa, Mistress Lisa, I think it is.
Okay.
Um, so anyway, we'll be looking to talk to you, Billy D. So everybody have a nice night. We'll see you later.
All right, man. Take care. Thank you. And Billy D's, I will follow you. I will make sure that happens. All right. Keep up the good work. And I'm going to let's just do this. Wait, bot. I'm going to let him sing a bit and we'll be leaving the stage. But I'll be back next week with Marvin Speller. Take care, y'all.